Hi everyone, welcome back to Innovaticalls. I am Professor Nikki Eshtiaqi from RMIT University in Melbourne, Australia. I am so glad to have you here. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a new episode. This community is all about helping one another. Whether you are a student, a researcher, or just someone passionate about learning and growing. Today we are continuing with the part 2 of our discussion on empathy. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, I recommend going back and watching it first as today's discussion builds on what we have already covered. In part 1, we learned that empathy is about understanding someone else's emotion and perspective, even when it is different from our own. We also cleared up what empathy isn't it? It is not just being polite, it is not sympathy, and it doesn't mean agreeing with someone. Instead, empathy is about creating connection even in tense situation by showing people we understand them. Now, let us start this episode by exploring ways we can enhance our empathy. The first method is taking a moment, pause, and control your emotion before reacting, which help you respond more thoughtfully and empathically. Let me explain this. Sometimes when we feel angry, stressed, or frustrated, our emotion can take over. In this moment, empathy becomes harder, but also more important. When you take a moment to pause and put your emotions on hold, you can respond more thoughtfully and understand the other person more deeply. Let's listen to the story of Mina and Jasmin, two international postgraduate students working on a shared research project. They were under pressure to meet a deadline. One evening, Mina received Jasmine part of the paper and was frustrated to see how many grammar errors. Her first instinct was to feel irritated. Why didn't she check her work before sending it? But Mina paused. She tried to settle down her emotion, so instead of reacting with frustration, she sent a gentle message. Hey, I noticed a few grammar issue. Was everything okay? I remember you mentioned your roommate had an emergency. Jasmine replied, thanks so much for understanding. I didn't have time to go over it properly after getting back from the hospital. I will fix it first thing in the morning. By pausing and using empathy, Mina avoided conflict and strengthened their relationship. She didn't suppress her feeling, she just managed them long enough to connect with Jasmine's experience. Now, the next method, we can improve our empathy by viewing our emotion as a radar, learning to notice before reacting. This is what we call using your emotional radar. When you feel irritated or upset, it's like a signal flashing. Your radar is telling you something is going on. But instead of reacting immediately, treat that feeling as a signal to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Could there be more to this situation? What might the other person be experiencing? This moment of awareness gives you a chance to act with empathy instead of emotion. To explain this in a simple way, let's continue with Mina and Jasmine. After many hours of the work, they submitted their research draft to their supervisor, Dr. Ben. A few days later, they got it back, covered in comment, correction, and suggestion. Mina felt overwhelmed and discouraged. Her radar lit up again. What's the point if it's all going to be criticized? She was tempted to say something like, this is too much. We followed your instruction. What more can be done? But again, she paused. She took a moment to breathe and think. Maybe doctor trying to help us make this stronger. He probably wants us to succeed. Instead, she said, "Thank you for detailed feedback. We can see there is a lot to improve and we will start working through it. Is there anything you think we should prioritize?" Dr. Ben responded positively and even offered to meet with them to explain the comment. That small moment of self-awareness changed the whole tone of the conversation. Mina used her emotional radar again, and because of that, she built the collaboration instead of tension. However, the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, after revising their work and submitting a grant proposal, Mina and Jasmin were eagerly waiting to hear from the funding committee. Unfortunately, the result came back rejected. They were disappointed, frustrated, even angry. Their radar was going off. Emotions were high. They had poured so much time into it. They felt like they had failed. Their instinct was to confront Professor Kevin, the head of selection committee, and demand answer. They drafted an email that said, "We worked so hard. We believe our proposal should have won. We followed the guideline exactly. This feels like a waste of time." However, before hitting the send button, they paused to consider how Professor Kevin might feel and react to this email. In this case, Kevin would likely feel accused and might get defensive. The conversation could become uncomfortable and nothing productive would come from it. Mina and Jasmine paused before speaking. They reflected on their radar signal, their feeling of anger and disappointment, and realized that Kevin was probably feeling bad too. So they changed the message to express their feeling more thoughtfully. "We were really disappointed to get the rejection, but we also appreciate all the support you gave us throughout the process." They also added, "We would love to understand what might have gone wrong and how we can improve our chance next time." Now Professor Kevin felt appreciated and respected. The meeting turned into a helpful discussion with an insight and a strategy for the next attempt. By pausing and showing empathy, Mina and Jasmine opened the door to growth instead of shutting it with blame. Therefore, we see in this story, we can conclude that empathy during a stressful moment asks us to do two things. One, use self-awareness to notice when our emotions are taking over and press pause. Second, step into the other person's shoes and respond with understanding, not judgment. This is not always easy, but it is one of the most valuable skills you can learn, whether in university, research, or every career life. So you can see empathy is much more than just a soft skill. It is a life-changing tool that shapes how we communicate, collaborate, and grow with others. When we practice empathy, we go beyond simply understanding someone's feeling. We connect on a deeper level which fosters trust, mutual respect. It allows us to navigate challenges and conflict with care and consideration, creating a stronger, more supportive relationship. In both personal and professional setting, empathy enables us to work together more effectively, solve problems more creatively, and build a sense of community. By making empathy a core part of how we interact, we open doors to growth, learning, and meaningful connection, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. I hope you find this episode helpful and enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation like Mina and Jasmine? How did you manage it? What do you wish you had done differently? Your stories and comments are valuable to us, and we encourage you to share your experiences. Here at Innovaticalls, we are all about supporting each other to grow and thrive. whether you are a student, researcher, or an early career professional. We believe in your potential and we are here to help you succeed and feel fulfilled in what you do. Now, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you so much for being here today. I am really looking forward to see you again in our next episode. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep growing.